My next project is this Homelite chainsaw. Sat in the garage for a while and wasn't ran, and so now we're going to get it running. I drained out the chain oil and I drained out the fuel in it. The fuel was definitely bad. It smelled really foul. So I'm going to pop off these 4 bolts around the edges, 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. Take off the guard, or the handle here. There's a bolt on the top there, a bolt on the bottom. Alright, this is what's under that cover. You got the carb, the gas oil mix, the chain oil, the stator, the coil, the on-off switch. Just slid these 2 out a little bit, and then the cover for the choke and the carb comes off. And then disconnect the 2 containers there and take those out of the way. Next I took off the blade adjustment screw and the panel there that goes behind it. Then the blade moves freely back and forth. Disconnect that from the motor right there. Also take the spark plug out. And then I took the bolts out of the bottom and the top, so the motor should be free once you get this blade off. Alright, so there's the motor out of the chainsaw. Also, don't forget to disconnect the on-off switch right there, which is right here. As far as how the tubes go, this one's the fuel tank, and obviously goes the carburetor, hooks up right there. And then as for the chain oil, as this short tube that's on top, which is basically like a compression tube that goes right there on the motor. And then you have this long tube, which is the bottom one on the tank, that has a filter on the inside there, you can see, and that tube runs all the way over to right down here, right behind where the that's the fitting right there that it mounts to, right behind the carburetor. So next I'm gonna clean this up and then take the carb off, go through the carb, and it looks like it needs a new air filter, so I'll have to see what I can do as far as a new air filter. I'm going to wash out the oil tank and the gas tank with fresh gas and just mainly clean everything up. So there's the one half of the chainsaw, and there's the other half. It's pretty coated in dirt and oil and stuff. And then there's the bar. So I'm going to clean all these up with degreaser and then put it all back together. Alright, I sprayed this down a little bit with carb cleaner just to knock most of the dirt off of it. Next you take off this little bracket here that holds the air filter. The air filter sits on top of here. Pull the air filter out, take that bracket out, undo these 2 screws. They're 8mm. These screws hold in the air filter housing here and the carb. When I took this all apart, the gasket, which is right there, basically was like glue holding this on. So even though I took the 2 bolts holding the carb out on, or on off, this was still basically glued on there, so I had to pry it off. I stuck an Allen key in there and then pried it off. But now I'm going to show you guys how to take it apart. This side is the diaphragm side with the 4 bolts, or the 4 screws holding it in. If the diaphragm will move back and forth and it's not stiff, then it's fine. The main side you want to worry about taking apart is this side. Just 1 screw in the middle there, and then that side pops off. Alright, so that screw's undone. Pop that off, and that is why it wasn't running, because that's the gas that was in it. It's pretty nasty. And you make sure both those flapper valves right there are in place. This one right here and this one right here, those should move back and forth. And so all that needs to be cleaned out with carb cleaner. Inside that big hole right there, there's a little screen. As long as you can see through that screen, then it's fine, but this can get really gummed up and nasty, especially on chainsaws, because there's so much sawdust in the air. So make sure that's clean and then reinstall it with proper size drill bit. I got the new oil line ran, engine's all cleaned up, sprayed it down with some carb cleaner. Got the carb reinstalled, choke works, the throttle moves. So now I'm going to reinstall the air filter and then put the motor back in the body. Okay, now I've got pretty much everything reassembled. The fuel line, I ran that in front of the air filter just to hold the air filter in there a little bit better. As far as the throttle, there's a rod that goes between the handle here, the trigger, and the carb there. And so the easiest way to hook that up is to take this top piece off of the handle, which is just one screw right there, and then you can pick up the trigger out of there and then turn the trigger sideways and then scoop it onto the rod there that controls the throttle. So that's fairly easy to do. Then you have your oil line that goes to the bar, and then you have your crankcase line that goes into the oil tank there as well. So everything's put back in place. I just need to slide the motor in there a little bit better. Throw the spark plug back in it, put the cover back on, put that handle back on, or both handles back on the bar, and then it should be ready to go.